Let us move on to the most anticipated, most awaited session ever. So as I promised, we import the speaker from Brunei. He is a witty, skillful, and a warm-hearted gentleman. He's definitely someone we always look up to. A champion of District Humorous Speech in 2020, District 87 Director, our cute, distinguished Toastmasters, Ellen Ang. Let's give a thunderous virtual applause to our speaker for today.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, now let me share my screen, and then we are able to. Okay, let me turn on the message, the chat. Okay. All right, so I believe all of you are able to see the screen. So that's my slide. I won't be able to see the, what they call this, the chat box. So I'm trying to see if I can bring out the chat box. Just give me a moment. I just want to make sure all of you can communicate with me while I'm in here. Okay, can. Okay. So good afternoon again. So how we're going to run this session is that I want to keep it very interactive. So if you have any questions, do type in the group chat. I'll try to answer it as I continue to deliver my presentation. Or if you are comfortable, you can unmute yourself. You can stop me at any point in time. If I'm not able to take care of it, I will make sure I take care of your questions towards the end of the session. I have about 30 minutes for this segment, of which I will do the presentations for the first 20 minutes, and I will open it up for Q&A towards the end. And these sessions, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and answer the questions so that I don't feel like I'm talking to the computer screen all by myself only. Do not worry about the slides. I already given the PDF copy to Lisa already. If you need it, you can just get it from Lisa. She will just be able to email it to all of you. So you don't need to worry about anything on the slide. Just concentrate, interact with me as much as you can. Okay, and to make sure that I can see all your message. I'm signed. Okay, good. Let's see, because I cannot find my cursor, that's why. Give me one. So, okay, officially I won't be able to see any group chat, so just unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay, the first question to everyone: what is humor? What is humor to you? What is humor to you? You can unmute yourself, or you can type the answer in the group chat. What is humor to you? Okay. Muni say it's funny, laughter. Koru say it's jokes. What else? What is humor to you?
Me.
So you're saying that your life is a joke itself, is it? Okay. Entertainment. Angelina says something that makes us feel good. I think if we go and ask for the best definitions, always you go to Google, and they will give you a very, very good explanations of what humor is. They talk about comics effect, they talk about in literature or in speech, that is what humor is. Or they call it by the tendency of experience to provoke laughter and provide amusement. So the keyword here is, as long as people are enlightened by it, your audience or your listeners are laughing at it, then it is considered as a humor. So if humor is defined as an entertainment, is defined as making you feeling happy, then the next question to you is, what is humorous speech? I've been a Toastmasters for the last 7 years, and of course the first speech contest that was reintroduced to me was humorous speech. For a record, I myself is not a very humorous person. As you can see, if you ask me to do a table topic and then suddenly you want me to continue the story, I would be jammed at it. But if you ask me to write a humorous speech, I'm pretty confident with it. Why? Because a speech itself is different from table topics. A humorous speech, of course, is different from any other things that we know of as well. So can you share with me a little bit, what do you think humorous speech is? How would you define a humorous speech?
Engaging audience with humor.
Engaging audience with humor. That is the objective of a humorous speech. Now, what is a humorous speech? I like the answer. An amusing speech, okay?
A speech that can provoke laughter.
A speech that can provoke laughter, a speech that can entertain. Now, this is everybody's understanding of humorous speech. I want to share with you my perspective, or a rather different perspective of humorous speech. It is a well-structured speech with economical setup, consistent payoff, and a moral to bring home. All right, let me repeat itself. Three important things that you must remember. Number one, economical setup. Number two, consistent payoff. And number three, a moral to bring home. According to who? Not Google, but to this guy. So it is from Alan, who said that this is humorous speech. Why? If you think of humorous speech as any speech that's just entertaining, then you might have forgotten the true essence of writing a speech. Number one, speech should always have a good structure. What is economical setup? Economical setup means I don't want to spend 2 minutes or 3 minutes to explain the joke to you so that you will laugh. Economical setup means I want to spend the least amount of time so that you will laugh. A speech, let's say if a speech is 7 minutes and you took the first 2 minutes before you get your first laughter, then your humorous speech is not successful. Ideally, writing any humorous speech or going for any humorous speech contest, you want to aim for the first laughter within the first 20 to 25 seconds. Which means when someone introduces you, hey, the next speaker, let's say the next speaker, Jessica, then the moment Jessica started speaking, within 25 to 30 seconds, people already started laughing. Then that is considered economical setup. Consistent payoff, what does it mean by consistent payoff? If you are delivering a 7-minute speech, you don't want people to laugh 5 times only. If throughout the whole speech, people are only laughing 5 times, then it is not consistent. A consistent payoff means every 30 seconds, there will be one laughter. It doesn't necessarily need to be a big laughter. It can be a small giggle, such as, that was quite funny. That was quite funny. It's okay. And then every 1 or 2 minutes, people started laughing out loud. And the best part is you want people to laugh to a point that they started clapping their hands and have tears at the edge of their eyes. Then that is a very good payoff. But most important of all, towards the end, is that the humorous speech must have a moral to bring home. What do you mean by a moral to bring home? You don't want to talk about your funny experience of going to Australia for a trip, and at the end of the day, your audience felt like, oh, that was quite funny, but what was the message? So remember, there must always be a message towards the end. It can be a call to action. It can be a purpose to inspire audience to take up certain actions, or it can be informative, but towards the end, there must be one clear moral that you must bring home. This differentiates any humorous presentation with a quality humorous speech. So far, do you follow? So far, if you follow me, you can give me a thumbs up, or you can just type in OK in the group chat so that I know that you're following me. All right? Okay, good. Now, understanding this is very important, because what I realized is when we used to have a lot of humorous speech, especially during the contest, sometimes the humorous speech can be quite sad, because you can see speaker trying to deliver a speech, but no one is laughing. Or you can see people delivering a speech, and towards the end, you felt like, it's a bit cringy. You know, sometimes people talk about very awkward stuff, toilet humor, and you're like, I don't know if I should laugh or I cringe about it. Okay? Now, we must understand how many types of humor there are so that we can craft out a good humor speech? If you go online right now, of course, you type types of humor, there will be a lot. But I want to share with you those that I understand and those that I feel like we all can apply immediately after the workshop. The first type of humor is what we call physical humor. It's called slapstick. Now, what is physical humor? We all know Charlie Chaplin and we all know Mr. Bean. Can you tell me how many words Charlie Chaplin and Mr. Bean said?
0.
0. But you laugh. And sometimes you laugh and you're holding your tummy. That's so funny. That's so silly. Why? Why? It's because of their body language. It's because of their physical gestures. It's slapstick. This is very common in a variety show. You will have MCs speaking and they will just start falling down and start doing very silly action and people laugh at it. So the first type of humor is physical humor. Can we use that in our speech? We can. But imagine you yourself using physical humor for 7 minutes. I think your audience would be very, very tired and they would get fed up with you towards the 3rd or 4th minute already. Right? So it is good to have, but it doesn't come naturally. It has to be learned. The second type of humor is what we call mockery. Mockery can be a satire, it can be a burlesque. What do you mean by mockery? For example, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was 3 friends, a rabbit, a dog, and a turtle. Rabbit said, I jump every day, I exercise a lot, and I get to live up to 5 years. The dog said, oh, it's good. I run as well. I play with my owner as well, and I get to live up to 12 years old. And the turtle said, oh, that's not too bad. I do nothing and I just sleep and I get to live up to 100 years old. So that is mockery. So you're mocking people for their effort. Like, I don't need to do anything, but I get to live up to 100 years old. So that is one form of humor. Now, the third humor is what we call puns. Puns are very intelligent humor, very similar to wordplay as well. But let me tell you what is pun. They go by questions or in statement form. For instance, why are engineers the best couple? Does any one of you know? Why are engineers the best couple? Because they will make it work. Okay, so that is called pun. What is wordplay? This is my favorite humor. What is the favorite color of a goldfish? What is the favorite color of the goldfish? If you know the answer, you type it in the group chat. If you don't know the answer, type no.
Red.
It's not red, it's blue. Correct, because in the water, the goldfish goes like blue, 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 blue. So that is what we call wordplay. Can you use that kind of humor? You can. But how many lines do you need to write if you were to craft a humorous speech? A lot. Once in a while you use it, it's great. But in a humorous speech, you got to be very, very careful with it. The next type of humor is what we call a dark humor, which is what we call morbid. Morbid is M-O-R-B-I-D, morbid. Some people are very natural with morbid. Me, for one, I'm not very good with dark humor. Dark humors can be in the form of, be careful how you treat someone else because you don't want to break their heart. They only have one heart. So break their bones because they have 260 of them. So these are kind of things. Or parents giving a speech saying that me and my wife decided not to have any children. So if somehow you decided you want, let me know. Tomorrow we'll put ours to you. So to some people, they find it funny, but to some, they feel like, wow, this is so bad. So this is what dark humors are. Elias, right? It suits you, right? It suits you. Definitely not me. I have one member who's really, really good with dark humor. But like I said, sometimes you need to write it. Sometimes you need to read and learn more about it. The next humor is what I call self-deprecating humor. What is self-deprecating humor? You always make fun of yourself. For instance, people say that, why do I always tell people that to call me as cute? Because I said that I'm born to be not handsome. So the only closest thing that I can find is cute. People always ask me, Alan, how old you are? I said, I'm 35. And they said, wow, you look so young. I said, yeah, because life is fair. I looked the same when I was 13 years old. So when I was 13 or 14 years old, I looked exactly like how I am right now. So I couldn't get a girlfriend. So life is fair. So they're repaying me right now. So this is self-deprecating humor. You make fun of yourself so that people are enlightened by it. And self-deprecating humor is one of a humor that is very, very popular or very well-known. Not just only by people who deliver speeches, but also by this. Anyone of you can recognize any of these four gentlemen over here?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can see this
Fluffy.
is correct. You have Russell Peters, you have Kevin Hart,
Trevor Noah.
Yep, Trevor Noah, and my favorite is actually Fluffy. All right, Gabriel Iglesias. These are
Kevin
the
Hart.
correct. When I was preparing for my first humor speech contest, when I do not know how to inject any humor, I was watching Russell Peters and I was watching Fluffy. All right, I like Fluffy a lot because it's very entertaining. However, there is one line that I always want to make it very clear, is that does humorous speech equals to stand-up comedy?
No.
Is it the same? The answer is humorous speech and stand-up comedy is different. It's different. Stand-up comedy, you can go very, very long. You don't need to have a solid structures. You can jump from one story to the other. Whereas in the speech, you usually keep hold to just one message throughout because you have limited time to deliver your message. One of the Toastmasters, one of good Toastmasters friend of mine, his name is called Zainal Bostaman. Some of you might have known him. Some of you might have seen him. If you go to Comedy Central Asia, he recently, I think over the last few months, he performed in Comedy Central. His background was from Toastmasters, and then he went into stand-up comedy. And when I was able to catch up with him over coffee, he mentioned to me that, you know what, sometimes when I run out of some materials to write, I remember Toastmasters. Because Toastmasters is so structured. When you learn how to write speeches, you get it gets easier to do stand-up comedy. And because he comes from Brunei as well, he doesn't talk about politics, sex, and religion in any of his stand-up comedy, even until today. So I thought that was very, very clean as well. Now, why is this very important? Why do I want to spend so much time, at least about 10 minutes, to explain to you all these things? It's because a lot of times when I was mentoring some newer members for their humor speech contest, they always come to me and say, Alan, can you mentor me? Can you help me to craft a humor speech? Teach me, what are the tips? What jokes should I write? And I found that if you do not understand the foundations or the basic of what a humorous speech is, you can never get it right. You must really understand what it is first. You cannot say that I want to deliver a humorous speech, but then you end up doing a stand-up. You cannot say that I want to learn how to do a humorous speech, and then you end up doing 7 minutes of slapstick. You can't do that. A humorous speech has certain purpose to it. So I'll share with you what are my thought process on crafting humorous speech, and I'll share with you some of the materials that I've written in my speech for the past 2 contests that I've participated, and you can see why I say it is very important to understand this basic. Up to this point, is it clear for everyone? Everyone still following?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I can see Elias and Koiru responding yes. Good. The rest, have you fall asleep or are you still there?
No, I'm still here. Don't worry.
Good. I see a lot more yes already. Great. Now, these are the 5 steps that I use to craft any humorous speech. Whether in fact, it's not just any humorous speech. How I craft any speech goes through the same process. From the basic, from the foundation, it is called brainstorming. I would like to ask this question. I'll just exit the screen first. So you understand, you just remember this. There's brainstorming. There are set pieces. and then I'll go through that one by one. So I just want to see all of you so that it's easier for me to talk. Brainstorming. What is brainstorming? A lot of times when we say that we want to write a humorous speech, how do we write it? How many of you here write a humorous speech by first thinking about what jokes do you have? Okay, I can see you, right? You can raise your hand. You can raise your hand by thinking, how many jokes do I think I have 2 jokes. You raise your hand if you think about how many jokes you have. Okay, good. I can see 1, 2, okay, 3, good. 4. How many of you started writing a humorous speech because somebody come to you and say, that speech was very funny. It should be a humorous speech. And you're like, I got this. This is a humorous speech. How many of you go through that process? Raise your hand. Like, because someone told me this is a very funny story, so it should be a humorous speech. Okay? It is not that way. If you want to craft a humorous speech, brainstorming is very important. The first humorous speech contest that I joined, I was a very new Toastmasters, so I do not know what to write. So when I sat down with my mentor and he asked me, Alan, tell me what funny stories do you have? And I told him, I don't have any. So he said, what do you like to talk about? I said, I like to talk about my wife. Then he said, good, we will write a story that evolves around your wife. I'm like, okay, so what should we write? So he asked me, is there any funny experience that you have with your wife? There's nothing funny about me and my wife. Then he said, what about embarrassing moment? Tough moments. And yeah, that one I have a lot. So with that, I have brainstormed an idea. My story would be about my wife. So brainstorming. After brainstorming, the next thing, what do? I write set pieces. So what do you mean by set pieces? I write very short paragraph. For example, I thought about the tough questions that my wife asked me. Am I beautiful? Like, I don't know how to answer those questions. Or am I fat? Okay, these questions when my wife asks me, I don't know how to answer. Are you lying to me? I don't know how to answer. And she always asks me very impromptu questions. I don't know how to answer. So I start to identify that as the set piece that I wanted to write. So after we brainstorm and we discussed about the set piece, we went into designing of the paragraph. How many rows do we have in our regular meeting? We have R counter. So we said, let's write about R counter. So we relate R counter to my experience with my wife. Table topics. My wife is a table topic master. Every time when I reach home, she will ask me, why are you so late? So after joining Toastmasters, I know how to answer immediately because I have the structure. If I were to answer my wife, I actually came from the office. My wife would say, you have 3 arms, 2 arms, and 1 soul. You must be lying. Where did you come from? So you can see this is what we call brainstorming to set pieces to designing. You brainstorm about the idea first. I want to talk about my wife. I write set pieces about R counter. I write about table topic masters. Then I design the speech. Once I design the speech, what do? You refine it. You refine it so that you arrange it. We talk about all the roles. Okay, we talk about the R counters and all this. But I said at the end of the day, my wife is the general evaluator. She gets the final say in everything. Okay, so that is how we write it. Now, let me share with you some of the pieces that I've written so that you have a better idea. When my wife said, do you think I'm fat? How do you craft it? You must have a setup. The setup is, when I first knew you, you were like a rosebud. So there is a pause. Then you start delivering the punchline, which is the most important line, the setup. The setup must be economical. Remember, I mentioned the setup must be economical. So over years of my love and my care, so that is the punchline. What is the punch word? You have finally blossomed. Pause. So this is how we write it. So this is how we answer the questions. What about another humorous speech that I wrote about salesman? How do you know that you are a salesman? The setup. The moment you tell people you are a salesman, suddenly you realize everyone actually has sixth sense. Pause. Hi, sir, may I? No, I'm not interested. But I haven't tell you what I do. So this is what we call an asset piece. Then you say, wow, sixth sense. It's called a callback. So you call back to the previous setup that you have, which is here, sixth sense. You call back to the punchline and the punch word. But it's not enough. You continue because you want to design it, you want to make it stronger. They say, hi sir, this product is, no, it's okay. I already bought it, but I haven't tell you what I sell. It's like, wow, sixth sense. Then you go, hi sir, can I have some of your time? No, it's okay. If I need anything, I'll call you. But how do you call me when you don't even have my number? Wow, sixth sense. So from those, you can see that it always go through the same process. Humorous speech is easy if you focus the foundation. The moment you start thinking about how many jokes do I have one funny joke here and I have another funny joke here, you try to link it together, it wouldn't work. You should write a proper speech first. You should brainstorm what you want to talk about. At the end of the day, what is the moral of the story? For example, the moral of the story that I want to bring about how I link my Toastmasters experience with my wife is that after all the years that we've married, I finally become a DTM, domestically trained man. Okay? So you write the whole speech according to Toastmasters program. Right? So that was my first humorous speech contest in 2014. So I went to the district, but I didn't win during that time. The script was good, but my delivery was bad. I wasn't ready because very new, you don't have the stage time, you don't have the stage experience. 2 years later, 2016, I went with my salesman speech. So towards the end, what do I want to tell people? From the beginning, we started asking people, any one of you have a dream job? So when you want to find about dream job, I went Google and search, and I find, wow, doctors and all this very high-ranking job. Salesman, number 48. Number 47, crocodile hunter. So even crocodile hunter is a more dignified job than a salesman. So this was like my beginning of my speech. So when we wrote that speech, in 7 minutes, there is about 25 to 30 laughters. So we planned. So we started counting. Every 20 seconds, some people would laugh. So after 7 minutes, you will get about 25 to 30 laughter. But towards the end, it is the moral of the story that you want to bring back. The moral of the story is, there is no such thing as dream job. The most important thing is, if you bring money back home, you put food on the table and you take care of a family, that is your dream job. So our moral of the story is, I want to tell people, do not be ashamed that you are a salesman. But you want to deliver it in a way that people can relate to you. So you create a lot of self-deprecating humor. Going back to the foundations, going back to the model, understanding that brainstorming start first, always have discussion with your friends, members, and talk about it. Start writing set pieces. Do not become a judge, just write. And then you design how you want it to be. What is the punchline? What is the punch word? When is the pause? And then you refine it over and over and over again. You have to do it multiple times. Then you can start rehearsing for it. Why is it important to rehearse for your humorous speech? It's because humorous speech is a lot about timing. And timing is not something that a lot of us are born with. For me, I am not born with a timing for humor. So sometimes you would have experienced this. When you tell a joke, nobody laughs. And then you started feeling cold, right? You have some cold sweat, and then your heart started pumping, and then you started sweating a little bit. So you're going to rehearse. You're going to try it over and over again. So crafting humorous speech, the main thing that I want to share with all of you here, this is a very limited time, so I cannot go through a lot of things. I just want to tell you the most important thing is, do not think about humor first. Think about a speech. If you can write a good speech, you can make any speech into a humorous speech. That I can guarantee. Any speech can be a good humorous speech, but a humor might not necessarily give a good speech. Okay, I hope you understand this. I've taken slightly more time than I wish to deliver the first part. But now I'll open up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will answer as much as I can. Timer, do let me know how much time do I have here. So I have the first question in here already. So keep typing your questions, or you can just raise your hand and you just unmute yourself. I'll take the second and third question. So the first question is actually from Elias. How do we utilize property to our humorous speech? Can you explain a little bit what do you mean by property to humorous speech?
I saw a humorous speech that he brings the rose and then put down all the rose buds and then throw it to the trash can and then put it again from the trash can and new one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know the name. I forgot.
Dhananjaya Hitarachi.
Yeah.
So how do we utilize props? So are you asking the question, how do we use prop to deliver a humorous speech?
Yeah. How we can choose the correct property to deliver our humorous speech. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a good question. Two parts to this. Number one, what is a prop? A prop is known as a visual aid. What do you mean by a visual aid? It means it is supposed to aid, it is supposed to enhance your presentation skills. A good presenter doesn't necessarily need to have any props or any properties on hand. Because today, if I were to deliver a speech to you about my wife, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna bring my wife in here. I can't do that, right? I can't do that. So you cannot over rely on the prop. You cannot over rely on everything that you have. So you must build your speech first, then understand what it takes to make it even better. So it's as an enhancement. So that's the number one thing. Number two, I am not a big fan of using prop. I'm not a big fan of using prop. When I was delivering my speech for district in 2016 for salesmen, Dhananjaya and Darren Tay, both of them were at the contest. They were at the contest. So I changed the opening of my script to give respect to Dhananjaya, saying that I see something in you. And Darren Tay, because he was using a white underwear, right, for his speech, right? 5 minutes before I took the stage, I had a white color underwear on my hand. I was thinking, should I use this? Should I not use this? Should I use this? Should I not use this? Okay, I was thinking hard because I am not a person who is very comfortable with that. So I asked my mentor, hey, should we pull this off? I mean, like Darren Tay is there, you know, like Dhananjaya is there. They're like, I mean, up to you. So I went on a stage. I took it out. I did not wait. I just took it out. I just want to bring it back so that people remember about this. Then I threw it away already. Why is this important? Because I was only trying to call back people's memory about that speech. It was only for that purpose. But the true essence of the humorous speech was never about the prop. It was about struggling experience as fellow salesmen. I talk about how people reject me. I feel so bad. I got onto the car. I turn on the radio, scroll down my window so that I can have one tears coming out. And then I have to wipe my tears and say, it's okay, Alan, let's go. So I'm sharing all this struggle, but you see, as I share my struggle, you are giggling, you're smiling. Why? Because believe it or not, we all laugh at someone else's sorrow. Okay, we always do that. So might as well make fun of yourself so that people feel happy about it. If you start understanding this concept, writing any speech is easy. And making any speech humorous, it's not hard anymore because you know the base is a speech. Then you enhance it by highlighting and designing certain humors onto it. Right? So I hope that is clear for you, Elias. Right? I have a second question, a private questions. Let me see. How to control my expression when I have to give the humor speech because I like to laugh. Well, good for you. You like to laugh. For me, I can't even laugh at my own joke. Okay. Practice. practice makes a lot of difference, and understanding your own timing. So like I mentioned, I'm not a funny person to begin with. So what I did was, because the first time I was preparing for my humorous speech, so I don't have a lot of time. So I told myself, I will make use of whatever stage time that I had. I was the president of my club at that point in time. So every meeting, every 1 week we have our meeting. So 1 year we have 52 meetings. So what I did was, during my president closing remark, I don't care, I will tell a joke. So I will deliver my president closing remark in a funny way. So I will always think of one way to make it humorous. If I deliver it, people laugh, I'm like, hey, good job, Alan. If I deliver it, nobody laugh, I'm like, it wasn't meant to be a joke. Okay? You just have to go by it. After 52 weeks, you know your timing. You know what people laugh. You know what people enjoy. So that is number one thing. You must know your timing. Expression-wise, it's all about rehearsal. I can share with you about the general evaluator, about wife asking, am I beautiful, and all of this. It's because I practiced many times. Every single speech of mine that I go for my competitions, I usually, on average, I will practice 70 to 80 times on the same speech. Okay, so for my contest speech, I do not go lesser than 50 times. I'm very committed to that. And what I'm saying is the final draft. It's not before, it's the final draft. So the draft comes after 12, 13, 14 drafts, and you get the final one. Okay, I do not have it with me. Otherwise, I can show it to you how my draft looks like. We have every sentence, we have a column that allows us to write numbers on it. 1 to 10. How funny is this? So when I deliver, my mentor would take my script and look, and he would judge based on the audience response and say how funny this is. Did we hit a 10 out of 10? There must be a point in time of your speech that it should be a 10 out of 10, which means people are laughing until they clap their hand. So you must be able to design that. So how to control your expressions and all of this? Practice. You just have to practice. There's no shortcut, all right? Next, we have from Woony. What are the pointers to turn a written serious speech into a humorous one? Okay, if your speech is a very serious one, the first thing is to ask, this is from Woony, what makes you think that your speech is a serious one? Because you might think it's serious, right? People might not think it's serious. So to me, it's about paradigm shift. What is paradigm shift? Woody, give me an example of a serious speech or a serious thing that you want to talk about. You can type it down. Just tell me something that is to you is very serious. Okay.
It's a speech to share experience and actions completing a project.
Experience of completing a project. What project would that be?
Like an educational workshop.
Okay, so completing an education workshop. I want to give an informative speech about how to complete or how to deliver a workshop. In your mind, it's always very serious stuff. I can tell you, actually, it's not very, very serious. Good question. How many minutes do I have left? I don't want to overshoot by a lot. Can I know how many times do I have? Just write it down. I continue to deliver first. You just type the number so I can see it. Do you struggle? How many of you struggle when you try to prepare materials for your education workshop or you try to prepare material for presentation? I will struggle. Angeline struggle. Good. We all struggle at some point in time. Talk about your struggle. For example, I can talk about when I was preparing for my educational speech or my workshop, people would say that, Alan, in order to deliver it well, you must have good vocal variety. Remember, people always tell us, right, you must have good vocal projection, correct? And I always wonder, what is vocal variety? So does it mean that I have to sing? No. How do I know? So the best way is to look at the mirror and practice. So before my workshop, I would always look at the mirror and I'll start looking in the mirror and say, hi, good morning, everyone. Oh, that's a very bad smile. Try again. Hi, good morning, everyone. Oh, still very awkward. Let me try again. Hi, good morning, everyone. Still doesn't feel so good. This itself can already be a design already. It's already a part. Then I can talk about other struggles that I have. When I said that I must deliver my speech, I said, Alan, you must have eye contact. The hall is so big, there are 200 of them. How should I have eye contact? You must give everyone fair share amount of connections. So what do you mean? I should look from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So does it mean that I'm a standing fan? I'm looking around at everybody? No, I can't. So these are some examples that you can make light of your speech. You see, we always think that there's nothing funny to write about. They are. This is a skill known as observational humor. It's called observational humor. If you pay attention to your surroundings, to things around you, you will notice that actually a lot of things are very funny one. It's just that you don't pay enough attention. And what I've shared with you about eye contact and about vocal writings and all this is not my first time telling this joke. I tell this at least for the last 5 years already, okay? It doesn't just come out. But because you've been doing it so many times, then you have a lot of things to take out. So there is a bank in my mind that captures all the jokes that I've listened that I kind of remember. For instance, recently, one of the puns that was being taught to me by my daughter's friend, she's only 7 years old. She asked me, Uncle Alan, what does a volcano say to another volcano? It's like, I lava you. I'm like, oh, very smart girl. So then now you have another tips, another trick to your brain. I'm like, okay, next time, if I want to tell a joke, what can I tell? I lava you. Okay, so you just have to practice. You just have to pay attention to it. Okay, so Wuni, that's the answer to your question. And laughter is contagious. Yes, indeed it is. Agus, how to find more material to vary one humorous speech to another? Do you have a routine or habit to get more material to use in your humorous speech? Okay, there's a few questions from Agus, right? Number one, how to find materials to vary one humorous speech to another? If you watch humorous speech or you watch stand-up comedy, you realize that the material more or less is the same. Actually, the material more or less is the same. It is the same dilemma that we have with international speech as well. More or less, the moral of the story is the same already. You talk about international speech, somebody close to you passed away, and then you learn some lessons from it. Some people do, they try many times, they fail, they still come up and overcome it. Some people who cannot speak, suddenly now they can speak. Some people who used not to be funny, now they become funny. So it's always about overcoming obstacle. Humorous speech is always more or less the same as well. Now, what makes your humorous speech different from others is your personal experience. That is something that belongs to you. The way that you see R counter and the way that I see R counter is different, because I see R counter through the eyes of my wife. You see R counter through, I don't know, through someone else as well. It's different, right? I can talk about why it is important to learn how to give constructive feedback, how to be very positive, why you should be a good evaluator. And I can tell this story through the lens of a husband. For example, Agus is here. Agus, when your wife cooks a dinner for you and she asks you, I don't know in Indonesia what they call her, sayang, nyaman ka? Mantap ka? Sedap ka? Is it nice? What do you say? You always say, it's good. Like, what can you say? You could always try different things, right? You're like, wow, no, this dish is excellent. Like if I were to rate it, I would just give it an 8 out of 10. And she might be sad saying that, why is only 8, not 10 out of 10? Because there's no such thing that is as perfect in life except you. So you can try with different things. So you see life differently, you're able to make it funny. So to me, it's all about my personal experience. And people talk about like, why is it important to talk about projects? Of course, many things. The key takeaway here is use your personal story, because that one people cannot copy from you. All right. Do I have a routine or habit to get more materials to use in my humorous speech? In the beginning of my Toastmasters career, yes. I would have my phone. So sometimes when, if I'm driving, suddenly I remember something very funny, I'll just record it. I'll just keep a bank. So I have a bank of a lot of funny lines, stories, and all this. But over the years, you will realize that you can write 100, 200, 300 short story. But if you don't use it, it means nothing. So what I recommend you to do is, do not worry about how many you have, but give yourself this challenge. Every time, if you're able to deliver a speech, add some humor to the speech. If you're giving an evaluation, make it funny. Okay, making it funny doesn't mean that you can choose not to be serious. It doesn't go like, wow, your speech, wow, very good, that's good. No, it doesn't go by that. You still have to deliver a proper one, but in a humorous way. So you have to find some way to make a very serious thing humorous. Okay, so that's for you, August. Okay, I see the red light already. Okay. Okay. Elias, in stand-up comedy, we have open mic. Do we have the same with a humorous speech rehearsal? Not really. Humorous speech contest, you don't have that. With humorous speech, right? All the set pieces that you have written, you can rehearse with your friend. So I rehearsed my set pieces with my friend, and they're like, "Oh, this is quite funny. Hey, actually, this one can be shorter." Remember, the setup must be economical. If you can build up your setup in 2 sentences, use 2 sentences. Do not write a 10 sentences and tell me a joke, because after 30 seconds and I listen to one joke, it's not funny anymore. Okay? And everybody's joke more or less is predictable. So if you spend 1 minute, they can guess what's the joke coming. But if you only spend 2 sentences or 3 sentences to build up, they don't have time to think. They can only react to you. Okay? So that's for you, Elias. Okay, 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. Okay. All right. So that's the last question already. Okay. So all in all, a lot of people ask, how do we craft a humorous speech? I hope at least after today, 30 minutes of workshop, you get to understand any speech can be humorous. If you only focus on humor itself, I think you misunderstood the essence of humorous speech already. Our job here is to deliver a message. Delivering a message in a light-hearted way only because people may relate to us better. So if we were to give a 5 to 7 minute speech, our job is to deliver a speech with a good moral by designing it with a proper setup and making sure that there are punchline in between. So I hope this workshop is productive to you. And if you do have any more questions, you need my contact and all this, you can always get it from Lisa. As long as I'm available, I will reply your message. The only time that when I get busy with a lot of things, I might be slower, but I will still remember I need to get back to you. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. I enjoy your company, and I hope you enjoy my session as well. So with that, I would like to hand it back to our Toastmaster of the evening, Toastmaster of the meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for such amazing session to our DTM, Ellen Ang, and don't forget, cute Ellen Ang. Well, it was definitely one very insightful session, because to tell you the truth, it's really hard to put humor that works in the speech. For me personally, I tried so much to put humor, but ended up, I guess, no one tells me that my speech is funny. So I hope with this session, next time, all of us can create a humorous speech in a light-hearted way.